Welcome back to Switch to Linux. Well, today we are going to have a look at a fairly new Linux distribution to the world, and definitely one I have not looked at to my knowledge on the channel, and that is CachyOS. I believe this first came out either late 2021 or early 2022, and this one is based on Arch, giving you the ability to install pretty much every desktop environment I've ever seen, including Cosmic is already in here in their latest, even though it is still under alpha. They use a customized Linux system called Bohr. So here is the Bohr scheduler. And what this stands for is Burst Oriented Response Enhancer CPU Scheduler. So their Linux kernel is enhanced to look for what is taking the processor calls, and then it prioritizes them in order to work pretty well. So it's they basically describe what they're doing here, and basically every individual focus or every individual system has a burst score, and then they tweak the system to deal with the burst scores in the most efficient ways possible. So they actually have a demonstration about how this works over here on YouTube. And basically what they're doing is they're doing a frames per second test using the fish aquarium with the Bohr schedule on and off. And you'll see what the results are as soon as that loads up. So this particular version here, they have enabled the open source NVIDIA modules, which have just come out, even the beta 560 versions. They said after extensive testing, they do appear to be very stable. So you are going to get the latest open source modules for NVIDIA. If you do want to run the closed source ones, you can run a Cachy NVIDIA command here, and that is going to set those up where you want. They have enabled the Cosmic desktop environment, and anybody already having a CachyOS can simply install it utilizing the Cosmic session. And then there's some other package bases. There's already a wiki on Cosmic desktop environment on the Arch wiki, so you'll want to consult that to see what all that you want in place. They have a new content delivery system for their repository, so you can test this out. And their new version of this uses that to basically download the repository information from wherever you want. And then they have a number of system tools in the platform. And we'll talk about those near the end of the video. So overall, we have a really nice system. They have some game performance scripts, but they do not install those by default. So if you are a gamer, you want to install it and then add the gaming packages, which is going to help boost your gaming performance. And that is really a nice feature because it's not there for people like me who don't spend the time on gaming. But for those that do, this does give you all of those various tweaks that you might need in order to do that. So they do talk about a handheld edition there, supports the Ally X. So I'm not sure what that one is all about, but you can go ahead and do that. So it is a really nice system in place just to kind of see how the distribution works. So overall, I found it was a generally positive experience. There's a few little issues and bugs that I'll talk about here and there through the system. We are working with this on real hardware, so just keep that in mind. We're not doing this in virtualization in this instance. Says, hey, I have some new hard drives to test out installing things here, and I'm just making better use of the laptop and the capture card to do that. So here is the video about how the Bohr modifier works. So they're using the aquarium here, 500 fish, and you'll notice the frames per second is down at 12 and 13 when you set the basically turn off the Bohr scheduler. And then in a moment here, he's going to turn on the Bohr scheduler. And once he does that, then you can see the frame rate jumps up to like 65, 70. Everything gets a lot smoother there. And then he's going to turn it off again, and then you'll notice that the frame rate drops down. So that's really the difference they're doing with this Bohr scheduler inside of CachyOS. So that really is their main feature. So you can have a look at the website, CachyOS.org, and you can grab the version of it. Now, the default the default desktop environment is going to be Plasma. And you can, though, on installation, choose from, I think, every desktop environment that's out there, and Window Manager. Mention that as well. So there is a neat new distribution. We're going to go ahead and look at the installation first, and then I'm going to walk through some of the issues that I had on the installation, and then one of the minor issues on the desktop environment I chose, which is Budgie. But then for the most part, we do have a very nice system that has a lot of extra tools. I will start before we get into the rest of the video, though. The browser we're looking at is actually the Cachy Browser, which is based on Firefox. They say they've done some security hardenings. I didn't look into all of the various elements, but we'll just kind of look through the settings and see what's here and what's not. And we can see there's some settings over there. So it looks like they have disabled the appearance there, but you can manage that in the Cachy Browser themes and extensions. I'm guessing that's that one there. And you can see that there's, see if there's any other things I spot off the top of my head. So nothing I see there. Looks like DuckDuckGo is their default, which is good. We've changed that out. Usually you find browsers with Google. And everything else looks pretty ordinary. Here is the various settings. So here's the various preferences. So you can enable Firefox Sync, or if you don't like that type of stuff, you can simply disable it. That's kind of cool. You can enable or disable the middle click. You can turn on or turn off updates. And then you can just see there's a number of different things that they have done to harden the browser a little bit more. So that's kind of neat. Well, with that, let's go ahead and have a look at the installation and the what the system looks like when it is done. So once the live key boots up, of course, it boots up into RAM. We have the installer here, and they actually took the system information out of the system settings. I can't tell exactly which version of Plasma they're using, most likely the latest or whatever's on Arch. Now, this is actually the second time I'm booting this up. The installation failed the first time, and the error that I got says, and somebody reported the exact same thing on GitHub, and fetching the mirror list failed with the error that it couldn't find anything. Failed to connect. So what they are saying inside of here is this guy had the same problem connecting to the GitHub. He said there's probably something wrong with the connections in the installation. The solution is to change the DNS to Google. Not sure why, but just so that we don't get an error the second time. So what you want to do is go down, and I got to remember exactly how to do this in Plasma. But down here, we want to find our configuration here, and let's see if I can remember how to do this. So I do this in Cinnamon all the time. I just can't remember exactly how to do it over here. So go into IPv4, and then under DNS servers down here. So you want to do manual DNS servers. We're going to do 8.8.8.8, and then 8.8.4.4. That is your Google DNS servers. Apply that, and hopefully this works. Let me double check. That says failed to connect. Let's boot up the browser and see if this is getting internet. So we are getting internet there, so that's good. All right, so now with that, I don't know if you have to do that. It's just I get the exact same error other people are reporting. And so we're going to go ahead and give that a try and see if that solves it. And now we need to get this launcher installed. And for the developers, I have to spam this button to actually get this launcher. I don't know if it's just takes 5 minutes to boot. I don't know, but for whatever reason, the installation here just does not work super well. I'm getting a lot of you can see now the install log has showed up. I still don't have a Calamaris installer. Hit it again. Okay, I haven't. Okay, there we go. So you can see how long it's taking me to actually get stuff to show up. So that is actually a little annoying to, know what in the world's going on with that, but it's not a real good experience. We have another one. Stop. And now we're waiting for a module to load. The first time I tried the installer, this happened really quick, but right now I'm just kind of stuck in loading module zone for whatever reason. Okay, there we go. We finally got it. So got to hit next and then pick our time zones. And then that's all good. We'll go ahead and erase the disk. We can encrypt the system or not. I'm not going to encrypt it. And then here we can choose our various desktop environments. You do have Cosmic here. I'm really tempted to try doing Cosmic, but I actually want to do a desktop that I'm a little bit more familiar with, just so we can just kind of see what all's in the system. So I'm going to choose Budgie, I think. There's so many to choose from here. I mean, I could do Cinnamon as well. I think we're going to do Budgie, though. So this will give us a good overview of what the system looks like. So we'll hit next here, and now we can choose the various packages. So these are all the variety of different things that CachyOS gets us. They have a browser which is based on Firefox, so we'll stick with that. Here's your common packages here. So there's audio, which they're using Pipewire here, Pipewire Pulse, Pipewire Plumber, etc., etc. We have a variety of fonts going to be installed, file systems, package tools, just a variety of different things. So I could disable Bluetooth here because this computer doesn't have Bluetooth anyway. So I could take stuff like that off. And let's see if there's anything else over here. No, that's all fine. We'll stick with all that. Here's your various desktops. You can see whatever desktop you're installing, it's going to automatically install everything related to that desktop. And then we have CPU-specific microcodes. So microcodes for AMD or Intel. We'll just keep both of those. If I want printing support, I can enable that. If I want HP printer scanner, I must have lost my mind because I will never support HP products anyway. But, you know, love the option that it's there for those that want to use them. But that ain't going to be me. Sorry. No recommendations for HP over here. I don't care how well they work. And down here, we got to give it our username. Now, what I really don't like is distributions that tell me how long my password must be. It's my choice if I want to make my password not good. So I am definitely against that in principle, because in a case like this where it's just a testing thing, I just want to use my testing super secret password that's definitely not 123. But I'm forced to use something else, so I'll go with a different password here instead. We'll go ahead and hit our Install Now button, and hopefully this guy actually correctly does the partitions and actually installs this time. So right now it's checking for mounts on the partitioning. So I do sometimes find that Calamaris installer does sometimes fail to properly partition the system. In this case, it does look like it's doing the job correctly. You can see it's creating a new ButterFS partition right now on our default drive. And so from here, it's going to run our system. So hopefully it actually does the mirror list installing correctly and doesn't fail out. So we'll come back and when this is done installing, and then we will see what it looks like. All right, so everything says it is done. So we'll go ahead and click our Finish button. I think we'll click our Finish button. Okay, we have to click our Done button. The Finish thing looked like a Finish button. It's not. All right, there's our Pacman log. You can see everything Pacman did. There's the install log. Of course, the Pacman log showed up in the middle of that for some reason. No idea. But you can check all those logs if you want. We'll go ahead and shut the system down. And we're just going to shut it down. I'm going to pull out the Ventoy disk, and then we will reboot. So I poked around on the desktop here before showing this to you, and everything is working out well. However, there is a little bit of a caveat, and this is dealing specifically with Budgie. They did not install a couple of recommended Arch Budgie packages, and it ended up looking ugly as all get out. Let me go ahead and explain. So when you are installing Budgie, and this is on the Arch wiki here, when you're installing Budgie, they recommend installing a few of these extra packages as well. Some of these were installed. I believe the Budgie desktop view and the network manager applet, I believe, were installed, but they didn't install any of the other items here, the desktop view, the GTK themes, and the papyrus icon. What we ended up with because of that is a very ugly setup, because Budgie itself has a decent built-in theme, but it's not the most amazing. So if we go into our Budgie desktop settings, if you don't have a lot of these factors installed, then these items here, the widgets, the icons, and the cursors are all blank, and it uses the default, which looks acceptable, but I can't restore it and show you what that looks like. I tried looking up how can you reset the entire desktop. There's some distributions and desktop environments have a way that you can reset your whole desktop and go back, and I couldn't do that. If you so much as click these items, it would give you the only option, which is high color and I don't think, high contrast with OEDA. And so I was stuck with theming that looked like this with no way around it. And and I couldn't reset it to just go back, which is an issue with Budgie, that they don't have an easy way to reset it. There was some discussion about using the dconf editor and adjusting all the tools. There's some commands people allege. None of them actually cleared any of these items out. And so what I ended up doing is I was looking up different articles, and I get the idea, let's have a look at what's on the Budgie Arch wiki. And indeed, they didn't include any of the icon themes or stuff like that. And so I had to install those to actually change them. Once you do, then you have the option to grab whatever you want. I didn't install extra cursors. These cursors are fine. But once I did that, now I have a Budgie I can actually look at again. So that's good. But that is one of the limitations on Budgie, and it makes me wonder, did they skip any of those theming type packages on other desktops which will cause theming issues? I don't know, and I haven't looked at all the desktops, and I'm not even familiar with all of the desktops. But we do overall get a decent layout here. Here's our desktop icons. I think, you know what? It's still not allowing me to turn that on. I wonder if that's because I have not rebooted the system since installing the desktop icon. Oh, maybe I can. Okay. I was clicking on it multiple times, you can see, and it wasn't actually going. Okay, there we go. But here's active mounts, home directories, trash. So you can do all that kind of stuff. That was one of the problems, though, is that it didn't give me the theming settings that allowed me to easily see and use the system. So if somebody were new to Linux and didn't know that about changing the themes, they would be locked into that really ugly, unusable thing, and that could be a bad user experience. So not sure why the icon themes were missing from the Budgie installation, but they were. That might be something for the developers to consider. So this is your welcome screen when you first boot up the system. So here's various apps and tweaks. We have installation of apps. So this is just a nice little, a simple application which has a variety of different things. Now, I will note that in the first setup, all of these icons over here, almost all of them were entirely missing. And so I had to go in, it was really ugly to look at. There were no icons anywhere. So you couldn't really graphically see what you're doing. It was just lines of text. So installing the papyrus icons really made that look good. So that was excellent. So now you can just you can see this is just the most popular applications in these settings. And of course, anything you can install through Pacman, through the Arch repositories, you can install as well. But these are just your basic systems. There's an update system. My guess is that might be there in the event there is an update. And where did my welcome screen go? I wanted to look at the other half of that guy. Here's your Cachy kernel manager. Let me see if I can get that screen back up. Cachy, hello, it should be. There it is. So this is the apps and tweaks. So here's CPP enabled. I'm not sure what that one is. We have profile sync daemon enabled or disabled. So we have Bluetooth enabled or disabled. You'll remember I did not actually install Bluetooth. So if I were to click that, it might give me some issues because I don't actually have things installed. It didn't give me any issues there, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and do that. So here we have a system update. We can reinstall all packages. We can refresh keyrings. We can remove DB lock. So that is if your updates through Pacman are interrupted, it'll add this DB lock that you'd otherwise have to manually clear. So this is a nice feature for any Arch-based system to have a simple button to remove. I always have to look up the location. I believe it's in like var and like var Pacman, I think. Here's clear the package cache, remove all orphans. Here's install gaming packages. I don't know what that one's about. Let's have a look at that. So if you are involved in gaming, so this is a CachyOS extra, so let's just go with the default. 2 providers available. Go with the default. And so this is downloading just a ton of stuff. So if you are into gaming, now this is really nice here because the distribution does not have all this stuff on a system on the first install for a guy kind of like me who I'm not a gamer, so I'm not inclined to want to do any of these things. Here's things like DOSBox. Here's Heroic Games Launcher. I think I saw something about is GOG might have something in here. I saw that on a recent distribution. But there's just a variety of different gaming things. So I'm not going to install all these, but just know that you go in here. There's Lutris is there. Wouldn't surprise me if Steam is in here. There it is. Gecko. There's Wine Tricks. CachyOS Gaming Meta. So there's a lot of stuff in here for you guys that are gamers. I'm not a gamer. I'm not going to install those. But that's really nice feature here because you get a good streamlined system for people that don't really want the gaming stuff. But if you're a gamer, dude, install that thing. It's going to give you everything that you might need for that. No idea what snapper support is. Let's have a look at that one. So it's just snaps. I have no earthly idea what I'm looking at here. Snap pack. I have no idea. All right, we're going to go no. It might be snap packages. Here's mirror ranking, so I can go back and forth. Here's change your DNS server. So it looks like their default is Cloudflare here. So I'm wondering if we could have gone in here and just changed, if you remember, we changed our DNS settings to run the installer. I wonder if you can just go through here instead of doing it manually like we did. So let's go ahead and have a look at what that does. So it says that was changed. So let's have a look in our settings panel and have a look at our network panel there. And IVP4. Oh, look at that. It changed that to Google. Let's go ahead and cancel that. And let's change it to something else. Let's go with Cloudflare with malware adult blocking. Let's do that and have a look at what this says now. So 1113. Okay, that's neat. So cool. It looks as though we could have actually just changed our network settings in there instead of doing it manually when we did our install. But yeah, you can change your DNS system there. You don't have a way to like just change it to whatever your default internet is here, which is interesting. But you can actually do that if you're interested in that. That's pretty simple. You just pull up your system here, go with this, go over here and turn this off, clear this, apply, and that should use whatever our default internet provider happens to be, which in my case I think is pretty horrible these days. So here's a spoof DPI. So there's, I'm not sure what that package is either. Neat. There's some packages I'm going to have to look into. And then here is CachyOS Package Installer and CachyOS Kernel Manager. So this is probably the same package installer. Oh, no, it's a little different than the one we saw before. So there's a few extra applications in here that aren't on the other one. Here's every single package from the repository. So if you know what you're looking for, you can search for the packages in the repo there. So that's neat. And then we have a kernel manager as well. So let's have a look at that. So you can see here we have the basic Linux CachyOS stable kernel 6.10. We could go, let's see, 6.10.7.2. Here's 6.10.7.1. We could even go up to 6.11 release candidate if we wanted to. So there's a number of different things we could do. Here's an RT LTS. Here's a Zen. We have a harden. So you could easily change your kernel in here as well. So this is actually a nice little suite of simple tools to help with some of the basic management that you find that are some of the difficult things to do within the Arch system. Overall, I'll have to give this distro pretty good regards as far as the how everything is working. We can find everything here in the menus as well. Let's have a look at the individual applications. So not a lot of extra things. We have gedit, we have micro, we have Nemo. There are graphics. We have Eye of Gnome. We have our Cachy Browser, just kind of a fork of Firefox. So not a lot of extra tools. You're definitely going to want to install the applications that you want afterwards. I did install the dconf editor when I was trying to see if I couldn't figure out the issue with the theming. So you can see here we're on dark themes and things like that, but I couldn't find a way to just reset all of the individual items inside of the Budgie system. So that was the issue that I had. So if somebody else knows how to do that off the top, let me know in the comments down below. I'll be glad to look at that. So far, though, I really like the system. On the downsides that we found, first is that installer crashed the first time, although changing the DNS to Google seemed to solve that problem, or it was just a random fluke. For whatever reason. So that was an issue we had initially, although that we got around it. Really, the only problem that I had here is it didn't install some of the other recommended Budgie packages, particularly related to the theming, allowing me to have a better overall Budgie experience, because it didn't look horrible until I clicked the button down and found there's no other themes, and then you're locked. And that's really a problem with Budgie, is that they don't let you go back to the blank default easily. I got really bad theming stuff until I installed Arc. So that would really be the only major issue that I see here is, yeah, go back to, need to install some of those extra themes when installing Budgie to make sure you have a better overall user experience. But other than that, though, the suite of tools is really nice. The fact you can change your kernel easily. The fact they have two different package installers that will give us different packages. And the overall ease of use and the massive number of desktop environments available to install are all very big positives. So there is our video here on our CachyOS first look. Thanks for coming along. Subscribe to the channel if you like this type of content, and you can feel free to leave us a comment and a like down below. Thanks for watching, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.